Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
You know, I'm so happy to be here. You know, I've been thinking a lot and praying a lot and really trying to understand what to do with my life. I'm getting a little bit older, as many of us are, and I wonder what shall I do with the remainder of my life? I have a lot of dreams, I always have, and I have a lot of energy left, and I just want to keep on going forward. So today, in a sense, I'm going to be speaking to the older folks, also to the younger folks, because everybody's got dreams, and there's really no limit to when you begin to make those dreams a reality. I had originally thought that I would speak about a couple of projects that I did recently, one in my hometown and also a project done in Leda. I will in fact bring those up at the end, but frankly speaking, they are just a consequence of all of what I have been learning. Also, I need to say that when I started doing this reading on mind-body unity, it was amazing that the words began to devour me as I read through that particular chapter. So if this topic interests you, mind-body unity, I really want to suggest to you that you go to the Chunsungyang, the new Chunsungyang, and it's book 4, The True Person, chapters 1 and 2. It's just incredible reading in there. So, anyway, my sermon today is titled, as I said, Mind and Body, the First Blessing. And the reason why I chose this is because the whole concept of mind and body is pivotal to making any change in the world. It empowers us to usher in a world of peace when we have a world of despair. It's almost cliche to say in the news what you see is, so many things, war and murder and theft and all of these things. And in fact, we as a people have so little, in a sense, that we could do to make a change. We can change our leadership. We can create international laws, and we could rewrite the international laws. We can do all kinds of things. We can protest injustice, and we can imprison the bad guys. But frankly speaking, the reality is there's not so much that we substantially change by doing these things. And it's just common sense to know that a peaceful world can only come about if we realize peaceful nations. And peaceful nations can only be realized if we can create peaceful communities. And it's only common sense that we can create peaceful communities by creating peaceful families. And it's only common sense to know that in order to make peaceful families, we need to make peaceful individuals. And peaceful individuals can only come about by uniting our mind and body, each one of us, uniting our mind and body and placing God or goodness at the very center of our actions. I always try to get away from my notes, but I'm afraid I haven't gotten there. I'm continuing to practice, though. So we need to begin with that one central place of transforming this distressed world by transforming myself, by addressing the one thing that I can change, and that is myself. And that's only by working in cooperation, all of our minds cooperating with the will of God and taking action with our bodies. So we need to begin there centrally. Recently, I was sharing with a number of young people, several young people, about some of the difficulties that they go through. You know, one shared about anxiety and another about depression. course, they aren't the only ones who experience anxiety and depression. I should imagine somebody here has experienced that one time or another. Is it true? Yeah, I thought so. Anyway, the young man went on to say to me, you know, I have a friend who had anxiety and she went to a counselor. And the counselor said, and this is fascinating to me, the counselor said, when you experience anxiety, it's because you are thinking into the future. Your mind is in the future while your body is in the present. Isn't that so? And when you're depressed, your mind is in the past while your body is in the present. And the result is, like for example, with anxiety, usually you're in bed when you're experiencing your deepest anxiety, isn't that true? And you're thinking about all the things that you have to do and how little time you have to do it. Your mind is in the future, worrying about these things. You can't do anything because you're in your bed and you're supposed to be sleeping, but you're worried about these things. Or you're worried about your bills. How am I going to pay? You're in the future, thinking about the bills that you're supposed to be paying, and you can't do it because you're in bed. That's where you're supposed to be, and you're supposed to be sleeping. You're thinking about so many things. Maybe you're thinking about something that is challenging for you to do, or something that you've never done before, and here you are having to do it. Your mind is just dwelling on that, but it can't do anything. It can't do anything. And as much as you're concerned about it, you're not going to be able to make a change because your body needs to be there to cooperate with your thoughts. Okay, let's take depression. You're thinking about what you want to do, but you're thinking about the fact that you've made mistakes in the past. I applied for positions in the past and I couldn't get them. I shouldn't try again. I've witnessed in the past and I can't bring a guest. I shouldn't do it anymore. Every time I get into a relationship, it turns sour and it doesn't work out. I just don't know what to do. I can't move forward. As a matter of fact, we do this all the time. We're thinking in the past, but again, we can't do anything. Whether it's anxiety, thinking in the future, or depression, thinking in the past, we can't do anything because our mind exists in the present. And in those cases, we're in a different place. It's your body is in the present. And your mind is in these other places. The only time you can do anything, the only time you can create anything, the only time you can create action is when you are in the present moment with your mind and body connected and going forward. I'm going to tell you a story. I always tell a story, right? This story goes back to 1980. I was in the seminary. At that time, in the seminary, in order to graduate, you had to take a comprehensive exam. Comprehensive exam means you have to remember everything that you learned in 2 years of study. And frankly speaking, I'm not really a very good student. I'm much more hands-on and more of a problem solver. So I'd rather do something with information that I have rather than file it and bring it back up. There's some people who are really good at that. Me, not so much. Anyway, the seminary, luckily, gave an option that you could write a thesis instead. So that's what I decided to do. I opted for the thesis. And I decided to write a paper about my favorite topic. I worked on a curriculum for teaching religion through art. Right? Took a very difficult professor named Dr. James Michael Lee, and I made my effort. And as I made my effort, I did the research, I did the reading, I did all kinds of things, and in the process also, of course, I shared ideas with other people. I shared my idea with this one brother who was also an artist and somebody that I really respected. And when I told him what I wanted to do, he said to me, "That's a stupid idea. You can't teach religion through art. You can't do that. You shouldn't write that. You shouldn't do that at all. It's not a good idea." You know, frankly speaking, that's not even a friend. No? Does anybody have a friend like that? Oh, okay, there's a couple of people who think they're the only ones with a friend like that, but I'm here to tell you that every single one of you has a friend like that. And you know who that friend is? Yourself. Yourself. Each one of us has a kind of talk that we do. Even though, as we read in the reading, we read that our conscience is always telling us to do good deeds and encouraging us to do what we want to do and do great things. Even though we have that, there's this other voice. The conscience is speaking to us all the time, and often it's called a still, small voice. As a matter of fact, sometimes we don't even get the still, small voice. We just say, "I can't hear the voice of God." But you know why? Because we have all this other junk going on in our heads telling us that we cannot accomplish what God wants us to accomplish. There's all kinds of things in our head. You can't do it. You tried and you can't do it. Your idea is stupid. Like the brother who spoke to me. We have that same voice going on our head telling us that we can't do what we really want to do for God. And it's at that time that we need to really quiet our hearts and our minds and listen carefully and catch that voice and be encouraged by the voice of our conscience, because God is always there. In the song today, we sang, "Unfailing Love." God's unfailing love is with us from the beginning of our life to the end and beyond, the beginning of our day to the end of the day. God's unfailing love, God's voice through our conscience, is encouraging us to move forward. We read in expositions of the divine principle. In the introduction, it says, we find a great contradiction in every person. Within the self-same individual are two opposing inclinations, the original mind that desires goodness and the evil mind that desires wickedness. They are engaged in a fierce battle. I don't know how fierce your battle is. My battle is fierce, the one that goes on inside of me. Striving to accomplish two conflicting purposes, and being possessing such a contradiction within itself is doomed to perish. Human beings, having acquired this contradiction, live on the brink, or I would say on the possibility of destruction. So we need to quiet ourselves and really listen to our conscience where God is speaking to us. While I was discussing this sermon, as I always do with my husband, and he always adds something to what I'm talking about, the other night he reminded me of a quote by Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, and that says, "We are not human beings having a spiritual experience. Rather, we are spiritual beings having a human experience." And my husband went on to say, and I say it to you, in the last analysis, since we are spiritual beings, we really better learn how to work with the spiritual side of ourselves, how to control that part of ourselves, and how to use that spiritual part of ourselves. And we can't put it off for another day. We need to get past the daily chatter that goes on in our head and connect with God within that guides our body accordingly. We have to unite our mind and body. And just as the brother who told me not to listen to what was going on inside of my head, listen to my conscience. We need to push those voices aside and move forward in what we know to be God's desire. So far what I've spoken about are these things: the centrality of the individual in creating a world of peace. I also spoke about training ourselves to quiet our mind and our body, our hearts, so that we can hear the Word of God. And then I spoke about not simply listening to the Word of God, but acting on that inspiration. My final points, before I come to my final conclusion, so you still got 2 parts left. God has given us this mind and body, and God has created each one of us as a unique expression of himself. You know, there's a greeting in India, right? Namaste, namaste. Namaste means the divinity in me greets the divinity in you, or the God in me greets the God in you. Each one of us has a unique and special expression of God according to our talents, our abilities. We are the only ones, I am the only one who could bring my mind and body into unity and use the talents that I was given. Nobody else can do that. Your spouse can't, your children can't, your parents can't, the book can't. True parents can't, Jesus Christ can't. God himself can't unite your mind and body. That is your responsibility. That is my responsibility, to unite my mind and body centered on what God has given me to do. And we and the time that we can realize it is when it happens in our mind. Right now, it can happen any moment. Anytime we make a determination, anytime we make a commitment, it can happen. Time is such a mysterious thing because past, present, and future, they're just on a timeline. I can't do anything about the past, and I can't do anything about the future. I can only work with the present. I can, of course, learn from the past, and I can make a plan for the future. But only this present moment is the one I can do anything in because it's the only place where my mind and my body exist. Only my mind exists in the future and the past. I don't mean to be redundant, but it's such an important point to understand. Only when our mind and body is united can we do anything, can we create anything, and move forward. When our mind and body is united. Actually, this is something that I'm struggling with now. I'm trying to really understand it myself. But when your mind and body is actually united, it creates a sort of channel or opening for God's power to flow. Only at that place, because God can't deal with anything but the moment, and God can't deal with anything but goodness. So when I get my mind and body united around goodness, an opening is created for God to rush through, and God wants to rush through every one of us to act with our uniqueness, all the things that he gave us, wants to send his energy through us. Actually, if you look from just simply a physical perspective, like in the martial arts, if your mind and body is united, isn't this correct, Ryan? If your mind and body is united, an incredible power, energy can come, so much so to be able to split boards or to crush ice, or to absolutely shatter concrete, and an energy that you couldn't even begin to believe could happen. And from a spiritual point of view, if we can create that mind-body unity and create that situation where God's energy can work, incredible things can happen. A new energy can happen, a spiritual energy can happen. But it's only on the foundation of that. And we can sit and we can think about this all this. We can think, oh, well, yeah, that's true. That's really true. But you know what? It doesn't make one bit of difference if we're only thinking about it. We have to experiment with that. We might make mistakes, but we have to experiment with the ideas that we have that we want to fulfill for God, so that God can come and work through us, not only through us, but do even more through us. In conclusion, so what happened with my thesis and my dream to teach religion and art? This is something that I've had since I joined the church. I joined the church, actually, because this is what I wanted to do. And I'm still striving to do it. You hear me every once in a while talk about projects that I'm doing that have to do with art and teaching religion through art. And I'm still doing it. We've been called to be tribal messiahs in our own right, so that we can speak and act on behalf of God. But it doesn't come by magic. It comes through repeated efforts, through practice, and then some more practice. It comes through making mistakes, getting up again and trying again. We have to do that so much so that mind and body united becomes our norm, and that mind and body united, centered on God, becomes our norm, so that God can exist and flow through everything that we do. Recently Manoj was up here, and Pastor Manoj was up here a number of times, inviting people to the project that we did in Nutley. That project was reported on Family Fed. Anyway, I asked Ryan to show. It's only 2.5 minutes. So if Ryan can show that, and then I'd like to just share what happened at that day.
Community outreach continues all around the country. Here is Damian Dunkley for a report for a peace project that happened in Nutley, New Jersey.
Hello brothers and sisters, Damien here in Nutley, New Jersey. It's a beautiful sunny Sunday, and we've got friends and families gathered out here in the main street for Pathways to Peace.
It's like making bridges for peace and love, and promoting friendship, brotherhood, cooperation, especially exchanging two different countries like us.
It's a combined project between representatives from Honduras and Nutley City and the high school, put together by Carol Poe Bands of Nutley.
The mayor got excited about doing this project, and then we decided to do the tapestry on the main street here.
They put the sort of rope down for the guides, and then they start putting the sand in as a team, right? Sawdust.
We've been coloring sawdust for many, many days. You'll see that on the bottom there's a picture of the world. And there's a tree, and the branches are like paths. There's a path that is the United States, there's a path that is Honduras, and then there's a path that represents the unity between the United States and Honduras. But you'll see there are also empty spaces. They're left empty because everyone needs to put their expression of peace in there.
So what's the key to world peace?
Cooperation, love and cooperation.
Traveling to different countries, getting to know different cultures and experiencing different ways of living.
True love, living for the sake of others.
Not trying to be right, but always being willing to love.
Because we didn't want people to be idle, just standing around watching the sawdust tapestry, the idea of doing this chalk tapestry came up.
When I got to know about this, I was so excited and I wanted to really do it. And I chose elephants because it's a symbol of peace.
And then there was the thought that maybe music needed to be added also. The mayor and the national leader of Honduras will be doing kind of a brotherhood ceremony at the end, walking over the tapestry
today is really a special treat here for us in Nutley. The art that the children of Nutley did and people from Honduras did together really brings people together, and it's a wonderful, wonderful day.
It's a little dream come true, or at least the beginning of my dream come true. First of all, I would like to thank the many brothers and sisters who came out that day to support the effort, and also those who bought t-shirts to financially support. I'd like to thank the young people who worked together with the Honduran and Nutley high school students on the tapestry. Also those who participated in the chalk walk. I want to thank the UC band who played incredibly as always. And also Sail the Boat played. And also Ryan and Tungil Mudo. They did a great demonstration, and also Tungil Mudo ballet. And thanks to David Eaton for arranging the music for the 150-voice town-wide choir. That I'm sorry that we didn't see some things on the video, but that was really amazing. And they sang Kevin Pickard's song, One World of Peace. Now, these are just some things that happened because of efforts that were made in town, myself and a group of people. But I want to share with you some of the things that God did. As I said, if the condition is made where mind and body is united, and we're focused on doing something for the sake of God, all kinds of things can start happening. When I first conceived of this project, even though I wanted to use the main street, Franklin Avenue, I thought I probably couldn't get permission to do that, so I think that I'll just, maybe I could just do a little thing in the park, get some kids together and we'll do a project in the park. I happened to share this with a minister friend of mine in Nutley. She happened to meet with the mayor's assistant and share the idea about doing the project on Franklin Avenue. And the mayor's assistant said, "Oh, that's a great idea. Let's do it on Franklin Avenue." Thank you, God. And she also shared, sorry, I want to get to that in a minute. What ended up is that we closed off a whole section of the main street in Nutley, and we were able to use that and do the project right in the middle of the town and make it a town-wide project. Next, the minister shared what we were doing with the director of arts and music for the entire school system in Nutley. That's 7 schools. And he got so excited that he volunteered his honor art students to work together with the Honduran kids. That was not my plan necessarily, but that's what happened. And he also volunteered that all of the choirs could learn this song, or a song, and sing it together on that day. So all of the choirs in Nutley, New Jersey know Kevin Pickard's song, One World of Peace. You remember the chorus in that is one world of peace, one world of love. It's the hope of all the ages. It's the hope of God. And I thought, oh, maybe, I was thinking, oh, maybe they don't want to sing that. You know how schools are in the United States and talking about God and stuff. So I said, it does talk about God. But the director said, don't worry, Nutley loves God. So we got that too. I really wanted to have a good keynote speaker. So I talked to Taj at UPF, and I made a connection with the Honduran ambassador at the UN. And she was interested to come. Would she do a 15-minute greeting for us? Because, her compatriots were there in Nutley, New Jersey. She said yes, she would, and I was so happy about that. But you know what? She didn't come at the end of the program to give her 15-minute talk, as many public officials will do. She came at the beginning, and she got down on her hands and knees, and she did a drawing in chalk of the saint of her particular town in Honduras. I didn't do that. Then the mayor of the city that I work in normally in Honduras wanted to come also. So he wanted to, on his own penny, on his own expense, he wanted to come and do a brotherhood ceremony with the mayor of Nutley, New Jersey. So we prepared a nice key to the city for the mayor of Comayagua. But as things went along, he wasn't able to come. He got called away for official business. So instead, we were able to give the key, his key, to the ambassador from Honduras. And when we did the brotherhood, our national leader in Honduras, Mario Salinas, walked the brotherhood ceremony to exchange gifts. And in a ceremony after that, they actually made up another key to the city to give to him. So our national leader in Honduras has on his wall the key to the city to Nutley, New Jersey. It's fantastic. I didn't do that. And these were just a few of the things that I didn't organize. These are the things that I want to really attribute to God on the foundation of what we did make an effort to do. But perhaps for me, the most amazing thing that happened was that my entire family came out to support. My husband, all of my children, my in-laws, my sisters and their husbands, my nieces and nephews, and my grandnieces and nephew, all of them participated in one way or another and came out to support that effort. And as the community gathered around for the brotherhood ceremony between the mayor and the national leader of Honduras, my eldest sister gave me a thumbs up. And later on, she texted me and she said, "You have a great deal to be proud of." This is a sister that I have spent my entire life, she's my elder sister, I have spent my entire life loving her and wanting her to be proud of me. She's my big sister. And finally, at the follow-up meeting of the organizing committee, the town representatives, the school representatives, and the clergy representative all agreed that this was indeed one of the most meaningful events that they have ever done in the town. Following this event, I just want to state, I really want to spend some time talking about Leda. Following this event, I went down to Leda. And you know, the Leda project, the building of the substantial kingdom of heaven on earth, is going on in a God-forsaken place in Paraguay. But it was the most amazing experience to see how Leda is growing and internally how beautiful it is. The brothers who work there and have been working there for 20 years or more, 16 years, have a vision, the vision that our true parents gave them. And they are relentlessly continuing, so much so that they call them Uncle Noahs. Uncle Noah, just like Noah, who worked 120 years with one vision for the sake of God. These brothers continue to work. People say to them, like the brother said to me, "You can't do it. Are you still there? Are you still trying to do that?" And they say, "Yes, they are." And I am so proud to be a part of that, and I hope that many people can be involved in that. In any case, brothers and sisters, I started out with only a humble idea of doing a small project in the park. But on the foundation of what little effort I made, God jumped in because there was an opening for him to do so. And God put in every amount of support that he possibly could. God's hope and potential his support for us is unlimited. We have only to unite our mind and body around his will, continue to go forward, and know that the time is now, not tomorrow, not next year. The time is now to do this work. Thank you very much. God bless you.